Today is Wednesday, October 4th, 2023, and this is the Dunkley Report. The White House says President Joe Biden has been in touch with U.S. allies and partners to discuss continued support for Ukraine in its fight against Russia. Tuesday's conversation came after Biden signed legislation late Saturday to keep the U.S. government funded. The bill did not include billions in aid for Ukraine that he had requested. The Republican-controlled House dropped the Ukraine aid request as a concession to growing opposition among GOP lawmakers. Poland's president told reporters after the call that Biden assured the leaders that backing exists for continuing U.S. support to Ukraine. 3 scientists won the Nobel Prize in Physics for their work on how electrons zip around the atom during the tiniest fractions of seconds. The field could one day lead to better electronics or disease diagnoses. The award, announced Tuesday, went to Pierre Agostini, Ferenc Krauss, and Anne Lhuillier for their study of the tiny part of each atom that races around the center, and that is fundamental to virtually everything. Electrons move around so fast that they have been out of reach of human efforts to isolate them, but experts say that by looking at the tiniest fraction of a second possible, scientists now have a blurry glimpse of them, and that opens up whole new sciences. Officials say Ukraine, Poland, and Lithuania have agreed on a plan they hope will help expedite Ukrainian grain exports. Needy countries beyond Europe will potentially benefit from speedier procedures. The Ukrainian Farm Ministry said Tuesday that the deal means that grain inspections would shift from the Ukraine-Poland border to a Lithuanian port on the Baltic Sea. The move seeks to facilitate the transit of Ukrainian exports through Polish territory. The grain can be exported by sea around the world from the Lithuanian port of Klaipėda. The stated goal is to hasten Ukrainian grain exports, but the agreement may also help defuse tensions over grain prices between Kyiv and Warsaw. Mexico's president says that about 10,000 migrants per day are heading to the U.S. border, and he blames U.S. economic sanctions on countries like Cuba and Venezuela for the influx. President Andrés Manuel López Obrador says the surge of migrants reaching Mexico's northern border with the United States is partly due to about 6,000 migrants per day crossing into Mexico from Guatemala over the past week. He says many of those migrants are traveling on a route through Central America that includes the jungle-clad Darien Gap region between Colombia. López Obrador has seemed to join Colombian President Gustavo Petro in blaming the situation on U.S. sanctions. The European Union's foreign policy chief led a delegation of top diplomats on an unannounced visit to Kyiv and dismissed concerns about political tension in the bloc over its long-term support for Ukraine's fight against Russia. Monday's meeting between EU and Ukrainian diplomats was largely symbolic. Josep Borrell said it demonstrated the EU's clear commitment to Ukraine in its 19-month-long war. At a news conference in the Ukrainian capital, he said he did not see any EU member folding on their engagement. Borrell said the gathering was the first time EU foreign ministers have met outside the bloc and in a war zone. Authorities in Thailand's capital say 2 people were killed when a teenage boy with a handgun opened fire in a major shopping mall in the center of Bangkok. A police spokesperson told reporters a suspect was taken into custody after the shooting at Siam Paragon Mall, and that the situation is now under control. Gun violence is not uncommon in Thailand, though mass shootings are rare. Video uploaded to social media and broadcast on television showed a long-haired teenage boy in the custody of police, who Major Thai media said was 14 years old. Police have confirmed only that he is a minor and that he appears to be suffering from mental illness. Actor and disability rights advocate Selma Blair has helped President Joe Biden salute the legacy of the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Rehabilitation Act, displaying a touch of the comedic timing that made her a star in Hollywood hits like Legally Blonde and Cruel Intentions. Blair, who was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 2018, walked together with Biden to a ceremony Monday on the White House's South Lawn with her cane and her service dog, an English Labrador named Scout. When she reached the stage, she told Scout, "Down." As he lay near Biden's feet, the president started to bend down to pet Scout, but Blair looked over and said, "Stay." That caused Biden to straighten up to full attention. The European Union has announced plans to better protect its cutting-edge technologies from foreign snooping that might threaten its economy and security. It comes in the wake of repeated warnings that the bloc needs to de-risk its relations with China. To better protect its relatively open market, the Commission wants the member states to immediately carry out risk assessments of its most sensitive industries, including advanced semiconductor, artificial intelligence, quantum, and biotechnologies. Those are considered highly likely to present the most sensitive and immediate risks related to technology, security, and technology leakage, and are up for the highest level of protection. Former Vice President Mike Pence is criticizing his boss-turned-rival, Donald Trump, for calling retired General Mark Milley, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, a traitor. Pence also reacted to the news that House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has been ousted from his post, saying, "Chaos is never America's friend." The GOP presidential candidate answered questions on national security and foreign policy at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C. Tuesday afternoon's event was the first in a series of conversations with 2024 Republican presidential candidates on the topic co-hosted by the Associated Press and Georgetown's Institute of Politics and Public Service. The Armenian parliament has voted to join International Criminal Court, which earlier this year indicted Russian President Vladimir Putin for war crimes connected to the deportation of children from Ukraine. The move will further strain Armenia's deteriorating relations with its ally Russia, which last month called Yerevan's push to join the ICC an unfriendly step. Countries that have signed and ratified the Rome Statute that created the ICC are bound to arrest Putin if he sets foot on their soil. Armenia later sought to assure Russia that Putin would not be arrested if he entered the country. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the World News for Wednesday, October 4th, 2023. Thanks again for joining us at The Dunkley Report.